Good day to you all. Welcome. My name is Leslie Nelson, elder in residence of Carnegie, downtown East Side. It's a community center. Like to also acknowledge that we're on ceded territory of the Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, and Squamish, that they let us work, play, and do as we do now. I am the son of Louis Nelson Sr. from Kwakwakwakiwak, and Minnie Schooner Nelson from Newholt. That's what I am. I'd also like to thank the Three Nations for letting me do the welcoming and opening of the downtown East Side. Shane Point, Sam George, Carleen Thomas. The whole idea of this, I'd like to thank the heart of the city too for welcoming me to do the opening of the Stories Got to Be Heard. I'd like to start my story with, I didn't know when I was going back to school, when I was in school, I mean, that everything was a norm to me. Whatever they were teaching us, we just took that as a learning. We didn't know that we weren't supposed to learn nothing from back in the days of my time era at a young age. So it was really frustrating growing up, not knowing our language was taken away and way of life. To learn our language now at my age is it's really difficult because of my age and brain cell, I guess. And believe it or not, 2009, I learned to drum. I was invited to a drum group that these two ladies were starting a drum group, Norma Jean, late Norma Jean in Phoenix, Winter. And we had a lot of different names to choose from. You know, I just wanted to call ourselves wannabes, you know, like we had to choose a title for our group. And it was very hard, difficult, not knowing about the drum, but they told me I'll learn as I go, and which I did. And that's what brought me to here now, you know, going back to school, 2005, 2006, 49 years old then. I learned a lot from that NEC. And what I was reading as I learned, I was getting angry because I was finding out the past, but I said I can't do nothing about it because it's now, and I just got to go on with what I'm learning. And I learned a lot because if I didn't go back to that school and upgrade, from NEC, I wouldn't even be here right now talking. Because I'll be sitting in a corner of the building there, angry and miserable at the world. So I encourage people just to think about going back to school. It's never too late. Songs. I asked an elder back then if it was okay to sing songs. And he said, go ahead, sing songs. They were lost. Reborn them and sing it because nobody knows the songs. And sing it, but acknowledge the composer and the village that they came from. So I got permission to sing songs that, as long as I acknowledge the person that made the song. And that's the protocol as we keep on going. Then there's Lux Stelum group. We formed in Carnegie. I think there's 12 of us, all mixed, different nations, so we all got permissions from each different songs that we sing. Where there's a protocol too of getting permission to sing those songs. We have like a Croatian guy, a Filipino, a Chinese, that are willing to learn our songs and respect our way of doing our singing and protocols of. And each day is a learning for ours, because it's been lost for like 40 years or so back in till the 50s, 1950s. And slowly, it's, you know, centuries go by, not centuries, but decades go by, and then when I started learning, I'm grateful I was invited to that drum group, otherwise I would still not know about the drum. I had a friend that invited me to a wellness program where I thought I was there for support for him, not knowing I was there for myself too, because I realized I learned a lot from that wellness program. How to respect the drum, and when we made drums, how a drum is, it's just like when you make a drum, it's like a newborn. You made just a new baby. And to wake it up, you know, you're just, like you do when they spank it. So each time when you sing a song with a drum, it grows. So the more songs you put on it, it's growing with you. Food, resources, they were all taken away too also from us back in our livelihood of our way of life. There's a lot of stuff that I really have to research, and still to this day not knowing much about the protocols and songs and language. I have to actually, even in my village there, is hardly anybody, you know, speaks the language. Maybe a few. And I'm just glad to see the youngsters there taking up language in their, you know, their little toddlers. And one time I said, Gela Kasla. You know, they say, no, Gila Kasla. I still say Gela Kasla, but to hear a little kid correct me, I said, I can't argue with that. Yeah, they're learning in school, so I don't want to interrupt with their learning. But that was a good learning for myself. Hearing that youngster tell me, you know, somebody grandniece told me, you know, Gila Kasla, not Gela Kasla. But like I said, I keep saying Gela Kasla. This means thank you. So I figure the stories that I've told, they're all short little stories. I do elder chat at Carnegie before the COVID, every Wednesday. If you want to hear the rest of the story, you're welcome to come down. And it used to be 12:30 to 3:30. No, 12:30 to 2:30. Then 3 to 5. Now I want to share a song that I've learned that came to our reserve. And it took me a long time to learn that one. And I got the words in a book so that I can be able to sing it, because when I was learning, every time I turn the tape off, I try singing and I can't do it. But one time This one's a good one. I went on a hike. I went on a strong hike up the mountainside, and I was holding up the group. And I said, I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep going. And the song just clicked right into my head. And I sang it all the ways up to the group. And I said, holy smokes, I just sang that song. But I didn't know if I sung it right, so I got back home, I listened to it, and sure enough, I sang it all. So it's a nation song, comes from Guskamu. It's known as Quachino. And I do have a traditional name. My late sister had a feast up in Palakula, Dorvault. It's called Chip, which means big bird in Dorvault language. And we're, like I said, we're learning and we're getting other names from our reserve, chieftain names like. This is a nation song where people from all nations get invited to a potlatch. So their pronunciation is kind of like different if you hear me saying it different, and it's that's a nation, that's how they pronounce it. The nation song. Whoa, hiya, 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 hiya. Whoa, oh, hiya, hiya. Whoa, hiya, hiya. Whoa, hiya, hiya. Whoa, oh, hiya, hiya. Comes, yeah, high still to come. Quasimu, quasimu. Whoa, ho, oh, hiya, hiya. Whoa, hiya. Whoa, ho, oh, hiya, hiya. Whoa, hiya, hiya. Whoa, hiya, hiya. Whoa, ho, oh, hiya, hiya. Clue, hiya, scores, come, say, hiya, still to come. Kuskimu, kuskimu. Whoa, ho, oh, hiya, hiya. Whoa, hiya, hiya, hiya. Whoa, ho, oh, hiya, hiya. Whoa, hiya, hiya. Whoa, hiya, hiya. Whoa, ho, oh, hiya, hiya. Clue, hiya, skus, come, say, hiya, still to come. Quasimu, quasimu. Whoa, ho, oh, hiya, hiya. Whoa, ho, hiya, hiya, hiya. Whoa, ho, oh, hiya, hiya. Whoa, hiya, hiya. Whoa, hiya, hiya. Whoa, ho, oh, hiya, hiya. Clue, hiya, scores, come, say, still to come. Kuski moo, kuski moo. Whoa, ho, oh, hiya, hiya. Whoa. Thank you. And I'd like to leave you with a note that stories got to be heard, and it'd be good to hear your story. Kailan kasla? Human relations. Oh.
Thank you. The Squamish Nation, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam, thank you for allowing us to be here and using the land. My traditional name is Nigamk. I'm from the Gitsan Nation. My grandfather was the founder of Aspayach, and that's where I'm from, Kispioks. When the settlers came to Canada, in the wintertime, my grandparents helped them through the winter. They didn't have no shelter, they didn't have no food. All the traditional food was made by our people, and they were preserved to survive for the winter. Because they're helping them, they figured, oh, they were okay. But the thing is, we started having a lot of problems. Our traditional food was not allowed for us that much. Our culture was not allowed to be taught to the children. The spirituality was totally against our spiritual beliefs. We weren't allowed to do all these things. And then we had chicken pox to try to wipe our people out. And then the culture was already taken away, and if they were caught teaching our children the traditional ways, they would go to jail. The parents will go to jail, and the children are taken to residential school. And because we were surviving, chicken pox was given to us through blankets. We survived that. Residential school, Indian day school, abuse was happening a lot through that way. And the residential school, we're not allowed to speak our language, learn our culture and spirituality. The residential school have lost a lot of children, and the parents weren't told about it. They were told the children ran away, which was not true, because you're living in a place where there's fence with wires. You're not allowed to really roam around anywhere, and they're isolated. They say it was a better place for us to be, but it wasn't true. Because I did go to residential school as a teenager. They told my dad that it was better for us. It wasn't. The 60 Scoop had children that were taken away. Some are taken off the streets and adopted out. Some of them are put overseas and not told about their own parents. Some children were taken as babies and not allowed to know their parents. I have worked with people that are survivors. I work on Main and Hastings. I sit with them, I listen to them. They are survivors. And this is what they had to learn. They had to learn a culture, they had to learn a language which was taken away from them. Their spirituality was taken away from them. And because of that, they were doing drugs and alcohol to medicate themselves. Medication. And the ones that have special gifts, they were told they're having a mental problem. And they give them drugs, prescriptions, to give them the low they need it when they're high, because they have special gifts. There are bullies on a job. I was one of them. I worked at one place for over 20 years, and I was told I was incompetent, and I was kind of pushed out because my co-workers weren't allowed to sit with me. If they do, they get problems. This is a hard job for me, hard job, to try and work with people. Sometimes I have to take time out because it's very, very heavy. I use medicine. I carry medicine with me in order to, and I've learned all these things from down here, like what medicine to carry, what medicine I have to. We were taught medicine back home, but we're not allowed to talk about it. We're not allowed to talk about it to other people because my dad didn't want to go to jail and leave all these children home where they can go to residential school. Because one parent cannot provide for 10 children, boys and girls. My mother couldn't really provide on her own. Because when my dad and my mom got married, my dad had to look after my mom. Because there was a lot of prejudice. Because she wasn't dressed well enough, apparently, and my dad had to go out and get whatever my mom needed because a lot of stores wouldn't allow her in. And because I didn't learn the language, and I learned the language, but I didn't learn the songs, the traditions, and a lot of the other things that I should have, spirituality. I learned it down here. I learned Sweat Lodge. I learned how to make a drum at the Sweat Lodge. And after I learned how to drum with a big drum, the healing drum, I came down to Main and Hastings and met Aline, and she taught me how to drum with a drum group. I learned about the drum group and learned about the songs. There's songs that were from different areas, but I got permission to sing this song from Aline, and it's in Ojibwe. Thank you, grandmothers. Me gwits come on, hey hi-yo, hi-yo, hey ya, hey hi-ya, ho hi-ya, hey hey yo. Thank you, family. Me gwits come on, hey hi-yo, hi-yo, hey ya, hey hi-ya, ho hi-ya, hey, hey, yo. Thank you, friends. Miigwes, come on, mana, hey, hi-yo, hi-yo, hey, ya, hey, hi-ya, ho, hi-ya, hey, hey, yo. Thank you, everyone. Miigwes, come on, mana, hey, hi-yo, hi-yo, hey, ya, hey, hi-ya, ho, hi-ya, hey, hey, yo. Thank you, because I'm here. Thank you. I'm a survivor. I survived residential school. I survived colonialism. I survived the bullies from workplace. After working there for 20 years, I survived it. And I'm surviving downtown, East Side, because this is where I work. Thank you. Amiya.